told you about all the electrical discharge stuff. One, the sun could possibly be at solar max, and the electrical energy could like energize everything with that with a big fat electrical discharge. Two, Venus is at inferior conjunction while this is all happening. I know where I was now. I was talking about Comet Lee and all the hurricanes and tropical storms it made in 24 hours. And that it was up behind the Earth, just like this one will be. But when this one is up behind Earth, the sun is going to be at solar max. It's going to be at inferior conjunction with Venus, and Earth is in the middle of all of this activity with the moon, the new moon. It's going to be dark with the new moon passing. I think that's around on the 13th. It's around there somewhere anyway, okay? So, the new moon is moving out of the way, and the solar wind comes pounding in our plasma magnetic fields that protect the Earth at around 35,000 miles out, okay? And that's out on the sun side. Now, all that comes compounded with energy down into the ionosphere. That solar wind will drive the energy down into the ionosphere, which as an effect, it will have an effect on our surface level weather. So if we think the weather's crazy now, just look for that. Dawn, I can't hear you. I don't know if you're talking or not. Okay, number 4. Then the comet is up behind Earth, fully developed, which could possibly stretch all out the Earth, and the electrical discharge could pass from Earth all the way to Jupiter.
Wow.
Okay? Now, Jupiter is extending this electrical discharge, once it gets it, all the way, halfway out to Saturn. So we could have an electrical discharge that would cover half of the solar system. I said we could. I'm not saying we are. Please, no one put words in my mouth. I'm not saying any of this has happened. I'm saying all of this has just as good a chance as happening as not at this point. We have to wait and see. It could all change when we get up tomorrow morning. You know? We've just got to follow it. Now, at this time, the comet will be somewhat close to Earth, but there will not be a gravitational pull. In other words, the comet is never going to actually hit Earth. What we're going to have to look out for is the tail of the comet, okay? But remember, the coma of this comet at this time is not going to be big. It's going to be huge. Okay? There's a difference between huge and big. All right. Now, and this could reach Earth. Now, if in the case that the coma could break through the magnetic field and Earth could start. Now, I know I'm going to have to explain this to you guys. Earth could start to connect to the comet electrically. And if that happens, then all of these things I just told you is going to shoot out halfway across the solar system. Look for significant, many auroras in the sky. When we start having weather, look for auroras everywhere, not just in the northern, higher parts of our northern hemisphere, but look everywhere for auroras. And John, Joyce, and Lon, you'll probably see a lot of them. Now, where I'm at, I have a chance, and where Glory and Dawn are at, they have a good chance of seeing them also. But I'm saying you guys are close to Washington State, and Washington State sees them quite often from the sun. Because, see, the sun's going to be acting with all of this at the same time. Now, storms. These aren't the kind of storms. When a hurricane comes, most of the time, if we have a bad hurricane, we wait days and days for it to come. We get prepared. You think it's going to come and just leave, but I have been through a hurricane 48 hours. And that's no fun. But these storms aren't going to be like a regular hurricane. I'm talking weeks, folks. Weeks. So you need to just, keep your eyes open and see what's going on, okay? Now, there's another factor since we are continuing around the region of the center of Jupiter, we could very likely get a big influx of. Now I'm going to get to the gory stuff. I'm not trying to be gory. I'm just going to get this out while I can before something happens. Okay, it's very likely we'll get a big influx of sulfur dioxide. Now Jupiter pulls in a good deal of sulfur dioxide now that connects chemically. All of the chemicals out by Jupiter are a lot of sulfur dioxide chemicals, okay? And Jupiter's gravitational pull pulls them in. And when this thing goes by Jupiter, the tail's going to swoop all that sulfur dioxide up when it gets in Jupiter's orbit. Okay, remember, there was comet Shoemaker 9. Okay, it was found to have 21 pieces of sulfur dioxide in it. Now, some comets have water compounds until they're around Jupiter. Then they turn to primarily sulfur dioxide with no water in their tail. NASA doesn't have any explanation for that. But they found 21 pictures of this comet I just told you, and it had no water in it. That when it broke up, it was 21 pieces of pure sulfur dioxide. It wasn't a snowball that melted. Okay? Now, the effects of the sulfur dioxide in plasma, well, the sulfur dioxide would be the main chemical component. But you have it combining with hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen. I'm not a chemist, so if any of you guys are a chemist, mix all that up and see how many different toxins you get out of it. How many different things you can get out of mixing those chemicals together. Now, figuring out all the possibilities that can happen, to mention solid sulfur, solid pieces of sulfur itself coming in, okay? Now, as the sulfur comes in and the Earth becomes a comet-like body itself because it's in the tail can drag us. I'm not saying everybody's going to flip out. No, I'm not saying everybody's going to die. I'm saying the comet can drag Earth. Okay? If all of this happens, once again, I'm not saying any of this is going to happen. I'm telling you what I was told was a possibility of happening. Now, because the Earth could connect to the comet, it could excite Earth, and we could literally become a comet ourselves in that sense, in the tail. Now, we might witness why some scientists are calling this comet the Red Hand of Death. Now, let me explain this, and don't anybody freak out if you're watching, okay? Thank you, viewers, you found me again. All right. But it's like, let me explain this, and do not freak out in any way, okay? Sulfur dioxide is red. Now, it's one of the visible things you have, and then you have the hydrogen components also, and you will have oil. Oil will be in this. You're going to have oil in the various different forms. So when they hit the oxygen, that leaves so you have electrical discharges. That's what makes the electrical discharges. So therefore, it's going to like hail down sulfur dioxide chunks. Okay? Now, sulfur dioxide with the auroras are possible also. Now, when the sulfur comes in, it's going to be in streamers, and I'll explain that in a minute. The reason for this is because it coagulates. Like, I'm not even going to look at these notes. I'm just going to try to get this out for you real quick. When sulfur comes out mixed with all these other chemicals, it's going to look like a volcano in the sky of ash to start with. You will see this stuff. It will coagulate like blood, go together, and when it goes together, then it will come down like streamers. That's why they're calling it the red hand of death. It'll look kind of like a big blob hand, and you'll see streamers come off of it, okay? When these streamers hit Earth, and that made me think of the Bible, like Moses saw this big red hand in the sky, and we all know about the burning bush. Well, when these things hit Earth, they can cause bushes to catch on fire, trees, whatever they happen to hit. It just makes me think about things I've read in the Bible, you know. It will cause things like that. Now, it's going to be coming from the east. It's in the east right now. The tail's in the east. I looked up everything today. I know how long the tail is right now, and it's like millions and millions and millions of miles away from us. It's not that long. It's only like 11, 12 miles long right now. But it's coming from the east. And the tail is pointed east. Our jet stream travels from west to east. So that'll give you some idea of who's going to see this stuff first. But Earth, everybody on Earth probably will see this at some point. Okay? And I hope I've explained that well enough. If not, write me a note and I'll try to explain it better. I'm trying to cram all this in before something else might happen. Now, okay, I told you about the jet stream and all that stuff. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Let's hop over here right quick. Okay, it's going to get in the water system. It's going to get in the food. Okay? This is all what could happen. It's too early to tell if it will happen. But it does look like these things could happen if it comes in like it looks like it will at this time. Okay? And this is all based on sound science. That's why we can't find anything else about it. I can't wait to see what NASA puts up when it gets closer to us, okay? Now, remember, all the different things I told you, I know this is split up tonight, and I'm so very sorry for it. Go back, watch both parts if you can. If you have any questions, I'm sorry I couldn't do everything like I wanted to do, but I wanted to get this out as fast as I could. Bottom line is, it's going to line up, it's going to have a lot of electrical discharge, the tail's going to be huge, the coma is going to be huge, and the coma could touch Earth as well as the tail, and Earth could get dragged and become a comet-like body at some stage for maybe just a couple of hours or whatever. I'm not even going to get into all those statistics right now. I'll do that at a later time. More than a couple hours, but it shouldn't be too long. But all the sulfur dioxide is my main concern. This is what we really need to look out for. And once we start seeing freaky weather of any kind, that's our first sign. That's our first sign. Okay? The second sign will be all some of these other things that I have discussed tonight, but after the first sign, I'll try to make another hangout where we can get other things on there. But it's like the sulfur dioxide mixing with all the other chemicals that I named. When you mix all those together, think of all the other different toxic chemicals you can make from it. That's what we have to think about. Once again, I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm not saying any of this is going to happen. I am saying this came from a very reliable scientist, and it could happen or it might not happen. It's too far away. We have to wait and see. But it's not so far away that we shouldn't look for these signs and know what these signs are. So if and when we see them, when the time comes, we know what to do. And that is what makes me think, we've heard all this stuff about Earth's going to the fourth dimension.